Have you ever met someone who says very little, but somehow when they speak, everyone listens? They don't rush, they don't fight for attention, and they never seem uncomfortable with silence. So what's their secret? Were they simply born with a naturally poised voice? Or did their childhood quietly teach them something most of us never realized was training? Because what looks like effortless poise may actually be built through hundreds of small moments, long before a child ever steps into a boardroom or gives a speech. And here's the fascinating part. Most of the training doesn't look like training at all. It happens during ordinary conversations, at the dinner table, during uncomfortable pauses, and in the small moments when a child learns whether their voice deserves space. So today, we're uncovering 6 hidden lessons behind a poised voice and how you can begin practicing them yourself. Because the most powerful voice in the room is rarely the loudest. 1. They learn that speaking isn't a race. Picture a child trying to explain something. They stop, they search for a word. There's a pause. For many children, someone immediately jumps in. Do you mean this? Come on, hurry up. Or they simply finish the sentence for them. And slowly the child can learn. If I don't speak quickly, someone else will take over. But what if the real secret to sounding confident isn't speaking faster, but realizing you were never supposed to rush in the first place? The child is allowed to pause, to think, and to finish. That sounds small, but years later, it can sound like confidence, not because they think faster than everyone else, but because they learned. I am allowed to think before I speak. The next time someone asks you an important question, don't rush into your answer. Take one breath, then speak. Because sometimes the difference between sounding nervous and sounding composed is just 1 second, but that 1 second leads to an even more powerful skill. 2. They learn to live with silence. Most people treat silence like an emergency. A conversation stops, and immediately someone tries to rescue it. Random questions, nervous laughter, unnecessary explanations, anything to escape the quiet. But here's what poised people learn early. Silence isn't proof that something has gone wrong, and when silence becomes familiar, it stops feeling threatening. That changes the voice. You stop talking simply to fill space. Your words become choices. One person speaks because they can't tolerate the silence, the other speaks because they have something worth adding. And once you understand this, you'll notice something uncomfortable about your own conversations. How often are you speaking simply because quiet makes you nervous? The next time there's a pause, don't rescue it. Stay there for 1 extra second, because every time you resist filling silence, you're teaching yourself, I don't have to perform constantly to belong here. 3. They learn that their thoughts deserve space. Imagine regularly being asked, what do you think? And then being allowed to answer. And importantly, they are listened to. Over time, that can build a quiet belief. My thoughts are worth finishing. And this may explain why some people weaken their own words before anyone else gets the chance to. Sorry, this might sound stupid. I don't know if this makes sense. Maybe I'm wrong, but before anyone else has questioned them, they've already questioned themselves. A poised voice doesn't need to sound arrogant, but it doesn't shrink before it speaks either. The goal isn't to say more, it's to stop abandoning your own sentence halfway through. Choose one idea every day and explain it clearly, in 3 sentences. Then stop. No over-explaining, no defending yourself before anyone challenges you. Because confidence isn't always saying more. Sometimes it's trusting that enough has already been said. 4. They learn the rhythm of conversation. A poised speaker knows when to enter a conversation. They don't constantly interrupt. They watch, they listen, they wait. And over time, they develop something that can look like natural charisma, timing. And here's the strange part. The less you compete for airtime, the more people may notice when you finally speak. Think about people who constantly interrupt. They may have interesting things to say, but when every conversation becomes a competition, their words begin to feel rushed. A poised speaker does something different. They let the other person finish. They leave one small beat. Then they respond. That tiny pause sends a message before your words even begin. I'm not competing with you. Try it during your next conversation. Actually listen, then wait 1 second before responding. But there is one moment when all of this training is truly tested, when emotion enters the room. 5. They learn not to let emotion speak first. Someone criticizes you, challenges you, or says something you completely disagree with. and suddenly your voice changes. You speak faster, your tone becomes sharper, your reaction speaks before you've even chosen your words. This is where a poised voice separates itself, not when everything is calm, but when it would be easiest to lose control. You can disagree, you can be frustrated, you can be passionate, but your emotion doesn't have to control your voice. And here's a simple rule: when your emotion rises, lower your speed. Don't force yourself to sound cold. Just slow down, because the moment you slow your voice, you create space between what you feel and what you choose to say. And in that space, you get your voice back. But the final lesson may be the one that creates the greatest impression of all. 6. They learn the power of restraint. A poised person doesn't believe every thought deserves an audience. Not every disagreement needs an immediate response. Not every silence needs to be filled. And not every opinion needs to be announced. In fact, one of the most powerful things a poised person knows is when saying nothing is the stronger move. We are encouraged to react, respond immediately, explain ourselves, make sure everyone knows what we think. But restraint creates contrast. When you speak constantly, your words compete with each other. But when you become intentional, people notice when you finally decide to speak. And maybe that's the real secret. A powerful voice isn't defined by how much it says, but by how carefully it chooses what deserves to be said. It isn't necessarily an accent or expensive lessons or something you were simply born with. What looks effortless may be the result of invisible repetition. The pause, the calm, the timing, the emotional control, the comfort with silence, the ability to listen, the courage to leave some words unsaid. And here's the best part: you don't need to change your childhood to start learning these lessons. You can begin training your voice now. Pause before answering. Let people finish. Stop apologizing before sharing an idea. Slow down when emotions rise. And the next time silence appears, don't run from it. Because one day, someone may hear you speak and wonder, why does she sound so effortlessly poised? And they won't see the invisible training behind it. The pauses you practiced, the reactions you learned to control, the conversations where you finally stopped rushing, the words you chose not to say. Because a poised voice isn't created in one speech, it's built one conversation at a time. If you want to develop stronger presence, clearer communication, and the kind of confidence that doesn't need to be loud, subscribe to the Mind Upgrade. Because sometimes the biggest transformation isn't changing what you say, it's changing the way the world hears you. If you want more videos that help you build a stronger mindset, overcome challenges, and upgrade the way you think, make sure you subscribe to the Mind Upgrade.